as a team hadn't been to the playoffs since 2020. Steph, well, he's been there a few times, got a few rings to show for it. Early first quarter, though, the energy, Jimmy Butler making his debut for the Warriors in the postseason, and he went to work with a hammer and a wrench. Got the floater there. And then 2 minutes before the half, it's Steph. Knocks down a three. Warriors now up 7. And then right before the half, Steph gets loose from there. 16 points in the first half. The 50th time in his playoff career he's had at least 15 points at halftime. They were up 47-34. Warriors were up 20. And then Steph. Watch this nonsense. Ooh, come on, dude. Ooh. They're up 23. Their largest lead of the game. It's down to 7 here when Steph, with the clock shot expiring, knocks down that big three. You thought that effort was enough right there? How about now? 31 points, 5 of 9 from 3. Fewest points in a win for the Warriors since 2022. So, Jimmy, how'd you like your first taste of playoff Steph?
Like I always say, Batman comes out of nowhere. You never see him coming, then he just falls from the sky, from a building, behind the door, and does some incredible things, man. He's going to be the reason that we do win it all. We all know that, but we got to protect him at all costs.
He was incredible, and you know, with that type of pressure on him from Thompson and others, he just made some amazing plays, and obviously carried us offensively along with Jimmy.
Not turning the ball over, getting quality shots is always a good formula. And when we didn't do it, they got out and ran, especially in the first half, and got better in the second and got more quality looks. But even with that being said, we didn't shoot it particularly well. Obviously, you look at Fred, Jalen, Amen, you know, didn't have their usual night shooting and still had our chance. So said to the group, guarded well enough, got to have better offensive showing, get our spacing down, and take care of the ball.
Steph and Jimmy scoring 35-plus last night. I'll come to you on this, Mad Dog. Do you think this Warriors team can get to the Western Conference Final?
No, I do not. They're older. They're a two-pronged offensive team. I think they got the right matchup. Now, Houston's going to hear this, that the whole world thinks Golden State's going to win. I didn't look at the odds yet, but I bet if I'll have one of our guys do it.
Warriors are a minus 200 favorite.
The Golden State is minus 200?
Yeah.
Wow, they're a huge favorite. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. They were 200?
Yeah.
That's 2-1.
Yeah.
So if you put $100 on Golden State to beat Houston and you don't get it, you're going to lose $200. That is a huge favorite for a team that is a 7 seed without home court. And I think they beat Houston, but if you don't think Houston's going to pay attention to that, he's going to put that on the board. Hey, guys, they think so little of us. We're a 2-1 underdog in their series. That's going to play into this a little bit. And I think Golden State will get by this series, but I think it's going to be long. And I think eventually, Stevie, Winnie, they're going to get a little worn out. You know, got a bad thumb. He's 33, 34 years of age. Butler's no spring chicken. They're going to get worn out as this series and this postseason moves along. I think they'll beat the Rockets. Probably take 7 games. But I think at the end of the day, not enough firepower in my eyes, from what I've seen, to go out there and expect them to win, to get to a final in the West, 8 games.
Wendy, real quick, to piggyback on your point, it's the second time in 30 years that a 7 seed is favored over a 2.
Wow.
Yeah,
even I'm surprised at that.
Yeah. Let me just say this. In this particular Western Conference playoffs, other than what this 1-8 match will be, which is probably going to be Grizzlies and Thunder, the seeds don't matter. You know, they matter because Houston gets home court. But 2-7, 3-6, the separation between these teams is very narrow. So I appreciate you saying that, Molly. It's a good factoid. I don't think it's applicable. The Warriors are not a 7 seed. But one thing I am worried about, on Sunday, we saw Zubac with the Clippers get 17 rebounds. I think the Clippers had like 18 or 20 more rebounds than the Warriors. In this game last night, we see Zach Edey, 17 rebounds. They out-rebounded him again by 10 or 12. The Rockets can play huge. They have their own big giant guy in Steven Adams, and then Şengün, who's not humongous by NBA standards, but is a double-double machine. They're going to have issues with possession because they're going to play small. The other thing is, it's an advantage in the first round, guys, because there's all these extra days, but they're going to need more than Jimmy and Steph. And they didn't get much last night. Moses Moody had some moments. Quentin Post, their rookie big man, had some moments. They didn't get a lot of production elsewhere. And Steve Kerr's made an interesting decision. He's abandoned Jonathan Kuminga, who is arguably the best athlete on this roster, okay? The Rockets are stocked with athletes. And Molly, you're exactly right. Their game plan, Ime Udoka's game plan, is to make this a 6 or 7 game series. You're going to want to wear Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry out with these bigs. Kuminga last night, I wasn't there, so I don't know. I'm not sure he had his uniform on. I'm not kidding. I think he didn't have his uniform top on because he had clearly been told he wasn't going to play. And Curry's gone back and forth with Kuminga for 4 years. But they're going to need more than just these two guys to beat this Rockets team. I promise you that.
Yes, they will need more than these two guys. There is no question about that. The Warriors will. Because Ime Udoka can coach his butt off. You know how I feel about him as a coach. I think he's one of the elite coaches in the game of basketball. They clearly have a size and rebounding advantage, obviously. But come playoff time, especially when you're going up against the likes of a Steph Curry, you got to make shots. And can Houston do that when it really, really counts? I know Fred VanVleet is a champion. He could do that. I know that Dylan Brooks is a rough rider, and he's not scared of anything. And those are going to be factors. Jalen Green, we're going to see what you're going to do in a series like this. Amen Thompson, I love this young kid. I think he's a star in the making on both sides of the ball. He's just going to be special. I can see Houston winning the championship within the next couple of years. So that's how good I feel about this team. But in this particular series, here's what it comes down to for Golden State. Steph Curry, in 3 of the 5 games, played in 3 of the 5 games against Houston this year, averaged 16 points, 36% shooting, 30% from three-point range. Is that going to continue? I don't think so. All right. Jonathan Kuminga, Steve Kerr, you sure you want to stick with that decision? Jonathan Kuminga is Golden State's leading scorer against the Rockets this year. 21.3 points a game. You may need him because of his athleticism and his ability to have success against Houston. You just never know. And then when I think about Golden State, I also think about the fact that there are no back-to-backs come playoff time. They're going to be able to rest. So because of that and their experience, I think that's why they have the edge. And I don't think I think this will be a long series, but in the end, I think they will prevail. And I think that they have the potential to beat the Los Angeles Lakers, assuming the Lakers beat Minnesota. Certainly you're going to say the Lakers are the favorites. Golden State can take them because they can play some defense, okay? They don't have the size, but they got a bunch of cats that can play some defense, and they have a few cats that are shot makers. They can beat the Lakers. So I just look at it from that standpoint. Yeah, they could get to the Western. In back-to-back years, if he knocks Kevin Durant and then LeBron James and Luka Doncic out in the first round, that's saying a lot. We can't ignore that. We just can't ignore that. Let me go on to a matchup where it isn't necessarily a nightmare, and that's for the Golden State Warriors. They ended up picking Houston. We know that Houston's bigger, they're longer, they're more athletic. They're a better rebounding team. They're formidable defensively, but they struggled to score, and that haunted them last night because when it really, really counted, they didn't have Steph Curry, and they didn't have Jimmy Buckets, as in Jimmy Butler, as in playoff Jimmy. Your thoughts about what you've seen in Game 1 of this series thus far?
Not surprising. Look, I love Houston. I love Ime Udoka, what he's built, the culture, the defense, but they can't score. They struggle to score the basketball. And I said it before the trade deadline. For all the people, oh, Houston should wait. I thought it was 1 or 2 people Houston should have rolled the dice on. They either should have went at Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler. Think about Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler on this Houston team right now, adding a legit guy. Look at what Jimmy Butler has done in the playoffs. Think about this, Stephen A. You hold the Golden State Warriors to under 100 points, and they still beat the brakes off you. So if you're Houston, if I hold them to under 100, but yet I can only get to 80 or 85, that is not a good thing. So I think, look, it's squaring Houston right in the face this offseason after they get beat by 4 or 5 games by Golden State, which is not going to be an embarrassment because they probably understood. Let's wait and see how this thing was going to pan out. But once they get beat, expect them to go all in hard if Kevin Durant becomes available. Because if you add Kevin Durant to that team, that physicality and the way they defend, they just need another guy that makes everybody attention centers around him, which will make everybody else on their team better.
If you are the Houston Rockets, I think right now, if the series goes long, you keep the team intact in all likelihood because you're just young and you fell to an experienced team. If you continue to struggle this way offensively and glaringly, and Jalen Green can't do it for you like he couldn't do it last night, then I think if the Phoenix Suns call and they say, listen, You want Kevin Durant. We want our picks back, and Jalen Green. I think you're the Houston Rockets. You got to strongly consider that, even though Kevin Durant is 35 years of age. To that, you say what?
I say yeah. Because, look, you're still keeping a core. Look, I coached Jalen Green in high school. I love Jalen Green. And I love Ime Udoka. But I will put the ball more in Jalen Green's hands this series. I would put him in a lot of pick and rolls and let him come off that high screen and roll, which would force Golden State to trap him. Because if you switch on to Jalen Green, he can break you down. He made a move last night where he dribbled out the shot clock and still made a reverse layup against the guts of the Golden State Warriors defense. I thought was an unbelievable move, but he needs more opportunities with the floor spread. But that being said, look, if you're Houston, you're going to have to listen to it. Because, again, what you may realize is that you're one prolific scorer away from going deep into the playoffs and having a chance to win a championship. Think about this. Look at what OKC did to Memphis last night. Do you honestly think if you have the inability to score, what will OKC do to you and you can't score the rock?
Damn.
I told people, hey, man, people kept saying about, oh, OKC don't have experience. I said that can be negative and that can be a positive.
Không căn bản là không phải đẹp hay không mà lấy, mà lại căn bản là chứng tỏ chúng mày đi với nhau. Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là hoa cải. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là hoa hướng dương. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nhé. Nhưng mà bảo không cần tiêu đề, ta cần gì phải đọc Long nhỉ? Còn đây là màu trắng nha, màu trắng này. Hôm trước anh còn Hòa xem tin của ta, cho tin nó giật cả mình. Đi về mẹ đánh sốt nhá. Lúc hôm anh tính đi đánh con vào đâu? Đi đánh con vào đâu? Chị anh xây nhà giờ là đang tính xây mấy phòng? 3 phòng, 1 phòng ở dưới, 2 phòng ở trên. Thế làm sao bọn em tăng riêng được? Thế bảo mỗi đứa 1 phòng mà. Chị 1 phòng có dám sau lên kia. Không ở đây nữa.
Đi.
Mọi người 2 màu đây. 2 màu này.
Hả? Nuôi gì?
Chả nuôi gì.
Thế thì ở đây nuôi gì?
Không. Ở bên kia nó sáng nó sạch.
Thế thì làm thang máy đi. Lên.
Mày hơn vua á.
Lười lắm.
Cho mày đi tầng 3 hả?
Đâu. Em lười lắm.
Anh Kim ở trên tầng 3 nhé, tối đến mùa hè, sắp đến mùa hè xây nhà thang bằng hè. Trời này gió mát lắm, chill lắm, anh Kim còn để
Chết.
treo hết đèn, những cái đèn tròn đấy đều rồi.